Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me on this panel, a topic that's very important, not just to my heart, but as it should be to our country, being an agriculture economy, and all of us that consume food, because we need to make sure that we create efficient, transparent, effective markets to get our farmers fair price for the output of all their hard work, blood and sweat. So I'm glad that all of you have joined, and hopefully we can have an interesting discourse and add to the knowledge of the participants here. So there are, Commissioner Saab earlier on in the morning said something very important about the importance of creating these markets. One of the linchpins is the development and availability of good accredited storage across the country. And that's, one of the challenges that we face as a country. If you look at most agrarian economies, they have their storage capacity as a percentage of annual grain production somewhere in the north of 80%, 80, 90%. Most, large economies have storage that's, more than 100% of their agricultural grain production. In Pakistan, it's closer to 10%, maybe, hovering somewhere between 7 and 10%. So needless to say, there's a large need for building storage before we can enable efficient trading of agriculture commodities. So that's one of the questions I would like to tackle and get the insights from our esteemed panelists today. The second is, once we have the storage infrastructure, once we have the commodities in a way made bankable and tradable, how do we get this message across to farmers? How do we do outreach? What's the most efficient, most effective methods of reaching out to the farmers and raising awareness about electronic warehouse receipts, these new methods of trading commodities for them. And the last and third question that I would like to get your insights on is, how do we increase the financing and trading of these EWRs on the commodity exchange? So with that, I'm going to dive right in, and I'll start with you, Shakaib. We all know the importance of warehousing, and more importantly, accredited warehousing in the country. Naymat is currently the only institution in the country that is licensed to regulate the warehouse operators. Can you share what kind of progress has Naymat made, and what kind of progress the private sector has made in developing accredited storage across the country, the pace at which it's growing? What have been some of the impediments, and how do you see things moving forward?
Thank you, Khurram. We all know that Pakistan, being an agriculture country, requires to fill this gap of severe shortage of modern warehousing, especially if I talk about the grains, the crops which can be stored in silos. So it's pretty known thing that while we are producing almost around 60 million metric tons of grains, we hardly have any modern warehousing for commodities like wheat, which is the biggest one. So we all know, and since ages we know, that there is a severe shortage of modern warehousing. Since last few years, when Naymat Collateral Management Company is formed and started accreditation, we first focused on the existing infrastructure of the country, and we brought the existing infrastructure under accreditation and EWR regime. And Alhamdulillah, at this point of time, we have a capacity of more than 350,000 metric ton across around 12-13 districts of Punjab. Now, while it is a good capacity to start with, it is still just probably 1% of the total, market size of the grain, storable grain crop. So we can imagine the huge potential lies in this particular sector. Now, at times, government has announced warehousing as an industry, but we are still looking for some concrete policy steps from the government in order to promote modern warehousing in rural sector. And, in my opinion, to start with, if you want to attract private sector to invest in this particular thing, we have to, from a government point of view, we have to provide some sort of basic infrastructure where private sector can come and, build modern warehouses. And with that, I mean that if, in the past we want to progress in industrial sector, what government did in the past, that they built industrial parks across Pakistan. Now, similar kind of steps may be required from federal and provincial governments to may have dedicate, agriculture parks of not that size of an industrial park, but some sort of provision of land, freehold land, clean land, where investors from across the country can come and invest in warehousing. If you require around 20 million metric tons of warehousing, it is a huge project. And if you probably need 200 clusters in different districts and different tehsil level to build these capacities. So what we need is a clear-cut policy from the government and financing from the financial sector to promote this storage capital expenditures.
Fantastic. So thank you, Shakaib. Ibrar, I want to come to you because it goes without saying that we need consistent policy, some guidance, and guidelines from the government. But NRSP took the plunge very earlier on when there were no incentives, no programs like that. How has been your experience? Because private sector does have a large role to play if we had to get to that 20 million tons of storage capacity that we need in the country. How has been your experience? And why do you think other private sector organizations haven't followed suit?
For NRSP, going into warehousing was a decision that was for the reason that we were already having 35 years of having interaction with rural communities. We are a rural support program and we are offering different services, including financial services. So it was 2010 when we realized that provision of financial services just not enough for the growth of rural economy. Rural economy, if you really want to see the growth, needs an infrastructure, an enabling environment and access to market. So that was the time when we decided that we are going to go for it. And we started very differently. At that time, there was no regulation in place. I'm talking about 2010. There was no CMC. There was no product available from financial side sector. So we took the start and we decided that, I'm just telling you the history, that we started by establishing small warehouses within the villages. And that is how we started. And then we taught the people that how to grade the grain, how to bag it, how to tag it, and then how to put it in a warehouse. So that was the first step that we took. And it was another 5 years, then we realized that there are certain cost factors associated to it. You need an economy of scale. And then we came up with our own first first warehouse that we built with the capacity of 5,000 tons for 1,000 farmers. And that is how we started. And then luckily we got partners. And then we supported SECP in formation of regulations when they were recording all these. Then there was another thing. So this is how we all started. And now we are at the moment storing some 30,000 tons of grain annually. This is our present capacity. So that is how we have reached here. So the second part of your question is that why private sector is not following the suit. The consideration of private sectors are very different, you see. I'm not saying they are wrong. Definitely the private sector, when will come to this business will look at three things. The first thing is the economic viability of a project. They will then look at the financial returns. And third is the exit strategy. So these are three basic elements that private sector investor is always looking at. So warehousing industry in Pakistan is still in incubative stage at the moment, you see. So, and it is very unpredictable as well because it is associated with grains. So we cannot give you the comfort, the industry cannot give the comfort to private sector that the capacity will remain utilized throughout the year. So they will get a proper ROI. So that is a payback period of a warehouse in normal case scenario is like 10 to 13 years. So that is a big challenge. So that is the problem statement. So a proposed way forward can be that we can provide an innovative solution. For example, investors can interact with institutions who have rural presence and who are already having experience of working in rural areas, like microfinance institutions are there, rural supports program are working there. The second approach can be where government can play a role. We have a very good example from Punjab government where when this year the wheat was not procured, they absorbed the warehousing cost for the farmers. Yeah. So that was a very good step. They not only absorbed the warehousing cost, they also provided liquidity to the smallholding farmers, and this is how the problem was tackled. And the farmer who at the harvest were unable to sell their crop at 2,500 were later on selling their crop at 3,900. Right. So it was more like 40% increase by provision of warehousing.
So let me take that cue and get to Dr. Kiran. Dr. Kiran, I'm sure you hear this quite a bit from both the private sector as well as development advisors that, long-term consistent policy is required from the government. Now, I know that Punjab government took some bold steps in the last Rabi season and created some incentives that Ibrar just spoke about for both giving subsidy to the farmers for storing their commodities at accredited storage facilities, as well as subsidizing the financing for banks against those EWRs. Now, that is something that we need, and there's a very clear example where wheat was sold around 2,000, 2,200 rupees towards the beginning of the season and later got to 3,500, 4,000, even 4,200 rupees in some markets. So there's a clear business case to be made. So we know that the Punjab government, at a high level, buys into this vision. And there was some pilot that was done in the last season. What is it that the government is planning on doing going forward? Are you planning on expanding this? Specifically the accredited storage facilities, the incentives that were offered previously for warehousing, for storage, and more importantly, do you see government playing a role in trading of wheat through a regulated exchange platform like PMEX?
Thank you, Khurram Sahab. Well, as you yourself mentioned, that government of Punjab took a very radical shift last year by coming out of the business of procuring the wheat directly from the farmer. And though it could not be piloted in all of the Punjab, but still we procured we piloted the electronic warehouse receipt system and did not directly procure wheat last year. And ultimately, the wheat which was procured 2,200 rupees per mont, it went up to 4,000 rupees or 3,500 above the market. No doubt that it created its own justification that it has to be, that the government needs to be pulled out, and maybe it had to be done earlier so. But there had been some lessons which we have learned during the past year. Of course, we will roll it out across Punjab, all over Punjab. And given the last year's experience, we must say that almost 2.5 million metric ton of wheat that Punjab wants to keep as a strategic reserve, but not through direct procurement, but through this electronic warehouse receipt system.
Great.
And currently we have the capacity silos or storage capacity of 200 million metric ton storage capacity, which if we go for EWR, then of course through Naymat Collateral or through some like instrument, we'll try that either we offer our own places for the EWR, or maybe we come into a strategic arrangement with some private partners who can procure wheat for us, but government definitely will not go directly into that. So that is very much clear. Politically, government stands politically committed to this vision.
Okay, fantastic. That's good to know. Zunee, I know you look after the agriculture strategy also at IFC. You've heard what Shakaib and Ibrar have said and what Dr. Kiran have said. We have an acute dearth of storage in the country. And if we are to consider regional benchmarks or global benchmarks, we need to develop, at least 20 million tons of storage in Pakistan, which means adding, 1 to 2 million tons conservatively every year. And that requires a lot of capital, tens of billions of rupees. Is that something that institutions like IFC can help provide the capital that is needed for industry like warehousing, which is so critical to our agriculture economy?
Yeah. Thank you, Khurram. Look, all our your speakers are talking about the need for warehousing, the need of warehousing addressing food security, and its ability to provide jobs, its ability to create wealth. So all of those things are something which are close to IFC. And in the annual meetings of the World Bank Group that were held a month or so ago, the World Bank Group announced a concept called Agri Connect, which basically means that yes, there are 500 million farmers, which are smallholder, across the globe that are providing 80% of the produce that the world eats. Now, with those kinds of statistics, one realizes that Pakistan is no different. Pakistan needs to have a formative agriculture base, which is modern. And by that, it will be able to generate not only income, but jobs, as well as prosperity. IFC at its end is also doing a lot of activity around this aspect, but it's not just thinking that it's just financing that is needed. It's a set of regulatory environment which needs to be conducive. We need to have a set of systems which revamps the subsidies that the sector has been enjoying, to target them in such a way that it promotes agriculture in every way in the private sector. Now, warehousing is one aspect. And as you mentioned, each warehouse, once it's built, has a payback of about 10 to 12 years. So a policy which has a 3-year horizon or a 5-year horizon just doesn't cut it. It has to be a long-term journey that is crafted by the government, which allows the private sector the comfort to come in, to plan, to know what the baseline will look like, and then be able to make an investment and a decision that, yes, this is the kind of returns this sector will provide. So it's very important from the word go that the ecology of the system is properly documented, properly set out. And then it's not just warehouses that are coming up, but also you need the Naymat Collaterals of the world, more of them. You need grading companies. You need seed companies to provide good seed qualities. And all of that is going to be basically used by your farmers who now have access to finance through this EWR. So we are very much interested to do a large program within the calendar year 2026. And we're looking at partners around here in Pakistan to exactly do that. But for us to do more in this sector, we really need the government to step up and partner. I mean, at the annual conferences that we had in Washington, Mr. Aurangzeb was also there, and he pledged that, yes, we are doing so much. We had other countries from Africa where the governments came forward and said, we are pledging to do this much in agriculture. And they are working together with IFC under the Agri Connect platform. Pakistan is also part of that first mover set of about 25 countries. So we are very keen to take this forward.
Okay, fantastic. That's good to know.
Thank
you. Ibrar, I want to move to the second leg, a second question that I posed earlier on, and maybe we'll move on to the third one after this. NRSP, I remember seeing this Khidmat Center or Farmer Information Center outside of one of your facilities. Do you think this is something that's reasonable to expect of the private sector to raise awareness about this new way of storing and trading commodities through the warehouse operators? Or do you think this is something that requires large-scale government intervention, given the large footprint that they have, in all of the country?
Center is an important thing. People do come there, they learn about what we are doing, how we are procuring, how we are grading, and how we are handling the crop. So how we are helping them. So this is one of the way, but this is not the every way. So now we can use media campaign. We need to have proper media campaigns for creating awareness among the farmers. Unless there is awareness within the farmer community that what warehousing is all about, the adoption rate will remain very low. No matter you have good policy, no matter you have a very good app, but if at the end of the day, the farmer is not aware about the benefits. I will give you an example that the farmers who have warehoused their crop are the best ambassadors for us to expand this project for us. They are the best one. Similarly, we have women who are aggregating on behalf of other women, and they are working and depositing the crop. So these are different kinds of things that we can bring in, and we can make sure that things.
Dr. Kiran, Punjab
definitely there's an impact of warehousing. Recently, an independent study was carried out by Ernst & Young,
right,
and they noted that there was a 30% increase in the incomes of the farmer who held their crop and sell it at a later date. So that is very encouraging.
Right, great, fantastic. Dr. Kiran, until last year, Punjab government used to mobilize millions of farmers to get them to bring their wheat to the PRCs and procure that wheat. Obviously, that was working because Punjab government used to procure 3-4 million tons of wheat through that program. What are some of the lessons learned? Do you think this is the same machinery and same infrastructure can be leveraged to raise awareness about this EWRs and financing against EWRs and trading of EWRs for farmers?
Well, yes, Khurram Sahab, I have. Basically, let me comment on the current strategy of the Punjab government through which they are engaging the farmers. There are different departments which are working on that. Agriculture department is injecting billions of rupees in supporting the farmers through agriculture implements, through supporting them buying the agriculture inputs, and by paying them for incentivizing them for sowing the wheat. Because earlier when the Punjab government decided that they did not want to procure the wheat from the farmers, they were very disenchanted. They were very demotivated. So government had to support them through different means and engage them through different means, and we are doing that. We provided them the tractors and around 10 billion rupees subsidy in the tractors, and in other agriculture implements, for fertilizers, for other incentives as well. And on the same time, so far as the government's decision not to procure wheat directly from the farmers, the food department, which I am representing right now, I believe that not only we are supporting farmers on some aspects, but on the other hand, we have the infrastructure available, not only the HR or the machinery, but also, as I mentioned earlier, the warehouses where we used to store the wheat. These are very valuable pieces of land. This is also available for the private sector to invest in. And as my colleague or the co-participant in the panel earlier mentioned, that these can be accredited against the certain levels of wheat storage capacities. They have very good capacity available. They are very strategically located places. So if we come into an arrangement with some international or with some local collaborators or partners, I think that can offer a very good starting point.
Fantastic. Shakaib, I want to move to the third question, last couple questions. Do you think Naymat is ready, given the pilot last season, Naymat is ready to integrate with the banks, assuming this thing is successful, warehouses are put out, EWRs are issued, integration with banks, integration with PMEX. Technically, do you think we are ready to sort of scale this concept up from here?
Yes, Khurram, so absolutely. Integration is not an issue. In fact, in the recent past, we have done few test transactions as well. But in the last wheat season, we create APIs with government portals as well. So I think in this era, integration and creating APIs, that's not a showstopper. But I like to comment on a couple of things. As Zunee said about the ROI, I like to do some very simple maths with you. For one single metric ton, the value of a commodity is around 60,000 rupees. 60,000 rupees, 1 metric ton. And the cost of creating a modern silo for a 1 metric ton is 15,000. 60,000 commodity can be kept in a warehouse with a capex of 15,000. Now, without a modern warehouse, we all know, and probably IFC can confirm, that there are so many studies that at least 10% our commodity we lost due to lack of good warehouses. So imagine that out of 60,000 value, we are losing 6,000 at least. Why? Because we don't have invested in 15,000 in the right manner. So just imagine that if we, there are so many accountant friends are sitting here, you can easily do this math, that in 3 years' time, you actually have a payback of the capex with only the 10% of the wastage you can save, let alone the rentals, let alone the other revenues we can generate. So that's one thing. So we need to look at this investment in a different manner, and probably we will be surprised to see that probably this huge cost may have a payback of less than 5 years. Who knows? So that's one thing. Secondly, as you asked about the small farmers, in order to reach to the small farmers, I have proposed a model of hub, spokes, and MSUs. Now, hub and spoke is relatively known term. MSU means micro storage units. So at a district level, in my opinion, there should be a hub. At the tehsil level, there should be spokes. And beyond that, and union council level, gaon level, village level, there should be micro storage units for the small farmers. Unless and until we reach to the farmers, we will not serve to the small farmers. Small farmers cannot leave their gaon. They don't have the means to leave their gaon, come to the mandi, and that's where middlemen and artis play their part. So these are the small things which I need to add.
Great. Last question for you, Zunee. We've generally seen that banks, save for a couple progressive banks, they generally shy away from financing against commodities. Is that something an institution like IFC that is more impact driven, willing to sort of contribute in terms of building capacity of the banks, maybe even underwriting or showing by example how this commodity financing can be done against EWRs, creating hopefully a successful model for the other banks to follow? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you, Khurram. So IFC worked on the Secure Transaction Act amendments of 2020, basically to introduce the electronic collateral registry. And that was meant to basically involve and expand the ability towards farmers and help them, access to finance. Now, in this world of digitization, agri-tech, and digitization needs to be used to promote awareness. And as you create awareness, it itself gives a reason for farmers to be attracted towards a warehouse program. At the end of the day, they are looking to have some money from their harvest. What EWRs is really providing is an alternate for them to sell either in the market at the time of harvest or to be able to hold for some time and sell it at a better rate later on. And if the banks come in, they are allowing that access to finance. So what we have to also see is that the ability, the digital banks, the bank wallets, they need to have reach to these farm areas. And with RAST facility, all the other activities the State Bank has undertaken in the last few years, there is a much greater awareness of transactions done via mobiles. So I think we really need to work on, and that's what IFC is also trying to do two kinds of advisory and awareness, one through physical means and one through digital means. And these, both of them complement each other. And that's the only way to really create that minimum, movement within the system for its adoption to take place. The banks have been trying to promote this activity for some time, few years now. But where we are lacking is a lot of things. But I think the idea is to handle all of them in one go, whether we like it or not, to open up all the spaces to help the private sector come in. So
Great. Well, thank you so much, Zunee. Thank you, all the participants. I think one thing is evident that everybody realizes the need for digitizing agriculture commodity trade, but also everybody recognizes the fact that this requires a long-term, consistent vision and policy from the government, as well as participation from the private sector, and buy-in from a very large ecosystem that comprises, 8, 10 different players with their own vested interests. We have insurance companies, we have banks, we have provincial food departments, we have federal government, we have exchanges, we have brokers, aartis. So all of them have to be sort of sold on this vision and take it along as we develop this ecosystem. It's going to be a long slog, but I'm glad that we're all heading in the right direction, one step at a time. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Thank you.